just have to let you know before I start, I am sick because of all the requirements that we have to do. I got a stress illness in like the last 2 days, so bear with me if I have to like grossly blow my nose in the middle. Am I crying? Am I just sick? You won't know. So I really, first off, want to thank Adrian Wilson for coming today. I really appreciate having you here with the Public Allies Cincinnati class. And something that you said this morning really struck me is honoring your feelings in the moment. You can prepare a speech, you can, have everything written out what you want to say, but it's also those feelings that come up that kind of remind us what we're doing and why we're doing it. So to say that, this is my alma mater. I graduated from Xavier at the end of 2014, right before I came to Public Allies. And I was a completely different person back then. And I think many people in the Public Allies class would be able to speak to how much this experience has changed them and how much we've changed over the course of this 10 months. And I, of course, am no exception. So it's really mind-blowing to me how different I am than I was just 10 months or a year ago. And I'm the kind of person, I can't really talk about where I'm going without telling you where I've been. So I just want to share with you a little bit about who I was before I came to Public Allies. So I came to Public Allies with two things. A huge chip on my shoulder and a little willingness to change and grow from that. But my chip on my shoulder was really big. Unfortunately, it was not a good thing. So before I came to Public Allies, I was in my senior year of college, and it was a rough year. It was one of the hardest years of my life. And I had lost a lot of friends. And by a lot of friends, I mean I lost all of my college friends. And frankly, it was because I had depression, and I was really struggling with it at the time. So I've struggled with depression since I was about 13 years old, and I've had severe anxiety for as long as I can remember. And it never made me a depressed person, whatever that's supposed to mean, but maybe not the classical, stereotypical example of what you think someone who has depression is. But it was like that cliche little black rain cloud that followed me everywhere, and I did my best to keep it out of view from people. But the funny thing about that was that I am this huge champion for bashing stigma out of mental illness. I think it's something we should talk about, I think it's something we should care about. I studied psychology here, so I wanted to learn about the root causes, and I wanted to learn about solutions. I was on an organization here called Active Minds, where we were talking to people on campus about mental illness and just getting those conversations going. So I was really championing for us to be talking about mental health and just getting us to subvert these stereotypes. However, all along, I was trying to mask my own feelings and my own emotions, and I was pursuing this perfectionistic, unattainable ideal self. And I was keeping others at a very safe arm's length distance away from me. So without getting into the nitty-gritty details of all of it, I let my guard down with some of my college friends, and it was hard and it was fast, and I told them everything I was struggling with. I was met with annoyance and discomfort, and not long after that, I stopped being met with anything at all, and I was just completely isolated from them. So after all my years of fighting to break this mental health stigma, I found myself in a place where I was being stigmatized, and that was just weird to me, and it felt wrong, but I didn't know what to do. It was one of those things that I was most fearful of. I was alone and left behind because of these things that I had hidden from people for so long, and I was absolutely terrified about the future because I couldn't imagine a timeline in which people would accept me for, and maybe in spite of my mental illness and maybe some of these things that I perceived as flaws and inadequacies. So I wasn't living up to that perfectionist ideal, and in my head that wasn't okay. So after I graduated from here, I went back home to Dayton. I decided to leave all of this everything behind me. I was in the process of applying to Public Allies, and I was planning for the immediate future. Luckily, I was supported by my friends and my family back home in Dayton, and I was making moves to live here and becoming a professional here in Cincinnati. So I kept myself busy, but it was always in the back of my mind that this fear that I was once again going to have to push down all my emotions and all my feelings and all the kind of stories about myself that made up a significant part of who I was, a part that I thought might be looked down upon by others. So after I was accepted into the program, and after I learned I was going to work with peers and mentors who shared my values and cared about creating social justice, aka really super cool, awesome people, I realized something would have to change inside me if I was going to get the most out of this experience. I couldn't keep walking around, like being suspicious of every single person that I met, thinking that they were just gonna up and leave me because I had these flaws and these insecurities, and acting like a real human being with emotions and kind of a moderately sad backstory. So the pivotal moment for me was at our very first retreat. We did an exercise called the Pamper Pole, and I'm sure most of you know what the Pamper Pole is, but if you don't, it was this 30-foot high wooden pole that we climbed up and jumped off. And we had a harness, so it wasn't just like just jumping off into nothing. But the challenge was facing that perceived risk. And it was as metaphorical as it was literal, so we were asked to tell the group one thing that we were jumping away from and one thing that we were jumping towards, all while asking them to support us the way that we felt that we needed to be supported. And so that's where the pamper pole comes from. And by the time it was my turn to go, I was shaking, and not from fear of heights. I don't really have a fear of heights, but it was really the being honest with everyone in front of 30+ strangers that I had only just met a couple days before. And telling them what I wanted this year to mean to me. And so I told them, I said, I want to jump away from shrinking myself. I want to jump towards living an intentional life and being more authentic with the person that I am. And I asked them to send up love and shouts of encouragement, and even people singing, "Come on, Aileen." So that one team building exercise went on to influence the rest of my service here with Public Allies. In most situations, I found myself striving to be as honest and as true to myself as possible, whether it was in my placement or in TSP or in training. In my placement at Tender Mercies as a vocational specialist, like Sandy said, I encountered a lot of clients with different mental health diagnoses, and they had all had experienced homeless before coming into our community as well. So I used my knowledge and my personal experience with mental illness to inform the way that I interact with them, with kindness and patience and empathy. Even when I was told I was being naive or that a client was giving me the runaround, I kept meeting them with sensitivity and thoughtfulness, because that's just who I am. I can't really be that person that is too firm with them and kicks them out of my office. I could be firm if I needed to be, but it was always with my words and actions being kind and genuine. In TSP, I practiced my most authentic self by letting the team know when I disagreed or when I was feeling particularly in my emotions that day. And it may not sound like much, but for me that was huge. For someone who always tries to go with the flow to kind of avoid conflict, that was just not something that I did before. And it also offered me the opportunity to challenge myself. And thanks to the support of my team, I was able to do that. In creating the youth council, all of my fellow Baconators know that knew that I had some serious misgivings about talking to kids and teenagers, but they helped me break out of my comfort zone and do that. And I actually ended up, really enjoying working with the kids in the youth council. Finally, in training, I let my voice be heard. I came to trainings with the intention of sharing my experiences, good or bad, with others, and letting my opinion be known in front of a group of people was just something I did not do before, especially surrounding difficult topics like we often talk about in training. But staying true to my words on the pamper pole, I was not going to shrink anymore. Because of my newfound expressed authenticity, I finally felt understood. I could have those courageous conversations with others, agree or disagree, and still remain friends. This has truly been the most amazing learning experience. I have never felt more myself than I do today, and that's something 1 year ago I never would have thought could happen. So I just wanted to again thank everyone, my peers, my mentors, supervisors, and friends in this program for supporting me through it all and offering a safe space for me to finally just be me. So here's to whatever comes next. #Aileen-2015.